You see women's spares for sure.
Excuse me. Did you
There's free water upstairs.
I hear Adriana's walking.
I brought some tissues in case it was emotional.
Test one, two, test one, two, test one, two, test one, two. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I am Juanqui and welcome to my world. It's a threesome tonight. It's a threesome. I'm here to give it. I'm about to give it threefold. First, we're gonna do the tip. Then I'ma give you the length. And after the tip and the length is gonna come the base. Yes, Miss View, it's a threefold. It's a threesome, a threefold, a three pack. You know, 1, 2, 3. 2 plus 1, 3. Okay, we're gonna start with the tip, then I'm gonna get the length, and then the base. And the funny thing is, Miss View, just a few minutes ago, I ain't got no material to do. And then I was like, oh, we should just have a threesome. The tip, the length, the base. Here we go. All right, let me pull up my contraption. Oh, yes, a contraption is needed for this. It's confessions. People are confessing their deepest, darkest to us on the internet. All right, so let's get right to it. The first confession goes: I have been pretending I know my coworker's name for 5 months and is now too late. Okay, so I started this job a few months ago, and there's this guy I talk almost every shift. Not best friends or anything, but enough that we have work conversations. Normal stuff, quote, busy today, quote, did you see that customer, quote, what time are you off, that kind of thing. Somehow I miss his name at the start. I totally thought, not a big deal. I thought I'll catch it naturally. I did not catch it naturally. Week 1 became week 2. Week 2 became a month. Now we are 5 months in and I have created a prison because now I can't ask. There was a window where asking would have been normal. That window closed ages ago. That window has been boarded up. That window is not part of local history. So I've been surviving without using his name. Quote, mate has done a lot of heavy lifting. Quote, bro has saved my life more than once. One time someone asked me, quote, who told you that? End of quote. And I said, quote, the guy from work, end of quote, while literally pointing at him from across the room like a witness under pressure. Then yesterday, it nearly collapsed. He came over and said, quote, can you write my name on the rota for Friday? You know how they spell it wrong, end of quote. What? Now I'm holding the pen like a loaded weapon. He's standing there waiting. I'm staring at the rota, hoping his name appears somewhere else. It does not. So I do the only thing my stupid brain can think of and say, quote, you write it. Your handwriting is better than mine. He says, my handwriting is terrible. I say, yeah, but your name will be right, which somehow worked. He laughed and wrote it himself. I finally saw the name. Turns out it's a very normal name, a name I absolutely could have asked for in a week, in week one, without ruining my life. Now I know it, but I still haven't said it out loud because if I suddenly start using it after 5 months of mate, he'll know. So I won't technically. But also I am still trapped. Okay. Let me tell you, I was getting into character because I thought she gets an A for effort for trying to dramatize the monologue and the story for the legitimate stage. However, girl, listen. Take it from somebody who was horrible and terrible at names. I was so bad at names, and I'm currently in a situation where I interact with over 200 people like every 2 days. Interact with over 200 people every 2 days. People which I need to know their names. Okay. So needless to say, it took a while, but after constant, here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with asking somebody for their name. And like she said at the beginning, but if you don't, or do your due diligence. A lot of times companies may have like an internal directory. Companies sometimes have emails where they let you put your picture in there and stuff like that. Sometimes they have organizational charts with people's pictures in them. You could, if you work for a company, let's say a large company or whatever, where they have maybe an office manager, you could just ask the office manager. You could ask another coworker, I didn't catch this person's name. Or you could just straight up say, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. I'm terrible with names. Can you tell me your name again? And then they'll tell you their name. And then what I used to do is I used to associate the beginning letter of their name with something. Like if they say, a view is a view. Hi, my name is a view is a view. I would say something like amazing, a view is a view. And so I now connecting the word amazing with a view is a view. You know what I'm saying? You can do that. Now, when I was out and about being fabulous in the streets, trying to secure a husband back in the day, and I was living the bachelor salacious life, and I would go out to premieres or to theater shows, or we will have a show, or we will have an after party for a show that we were opening or closing or whatever, or maybe at auditions or whatever, and mingling and networking with people, and you start seeing the same people in different events and stuff like that. I have a trick that never fails. But before I do that, let me go ahead and read some of the comments here. Neris21 ran out of here when I told him it was the tip, the length, and the base. But he was here giving eyes. There goes the eyes right there. There goes the eyes. Miss View says, hey, cutie pie. Well, hello, Miss View is a view. Thank you. She fainted a few times after the word threesome appeared. Miss View says, I am horrible with names too. Teams. But now it's the falsehood she has created. Well, yes, that is true. That is true. But one thing that, especially when I was really hustling out there, oh yes, I was hustling, trying to get auditions, trying to get people into my show, trying to see what company was having secret auditions, because it's all about who you know. It really is. To get in the door, it's about who you know. Once that door is closed, you can either choose to lay down to get down. You can say, where's the casting couch? Or you can say, here's my talent and let's duke it out until the last man is standing. I chose the last choice always. Okay. But, we will be at like events or whatever. And if I was with friends and somebody was across the room, or I saw somebody coming and I knew that they were coming and I didn't know their name is View, this is what you do, right? Let's say Naris21 is coming to us, Miss View, and you and I have been salaciously looking at everybody from the corner judging, right? But we know that Naris is coming this way. Naris knows me, but Naris don't know you, Miss Viewers of You, right? So I'm gonna say to you, Miss View, here comes this boy. I don't know him. I don't remember his name. But help me out, okay? You ready? Okay, let's go. 3, 2, 1. So Naris comes over and asks, hey, oh my God, nice to see you. Give him a hug, a kiss, both cheeks, side, left, right. Oh my God, what are you wearing? Oh, look at you. Oh, I'm so. Let me introduce you to my friend, Miss Views of You. Here's my friend, and Miss View is your cue to jump in and say, hi, my name is View. Stick your hand right out. Let him give you his hand, and then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. And then he's gonna say, I'm Naris21. And then Miss View, you're gonna look at me and say, oh my God, Naris21, nice to meet you, Naris21. It's so, how do you know Naris21? And then you're gonna look at me. Now you have repeated his name 3 times, Miss Viewers of You. As you have been shaking his hand, you look at him, mention his name. You look at me, mention his name. You look back at him, mention his name. You know, now I get 3 chances to catch the motherfucking name. Okay? And then I jump right in. See, this is, you gotta this is a trick I have with my girlfriends, you know, or my gay boys. And then I jump in. Oh yeah, Naris and I did a show. We went on tour for like 3 months. Oh, wasn't that company horrible? Oh my God, he has some horror stories. But yeah, and that's how you catch it. I cannot tell you how many times that shit saved me or saved one of my girls or one of my boys. Hello, Jane Living Skies Color Creative. Thank you for being here, and thank you so much for supporting the way that you've been supporting me. Incredible Hulk and I love reading your messages. Thank you for listening to us. All right, Miss View saying hello. Miss Jane says always repeat the name, repeat a name and assign a picture of them. That too. That works too. You know what I said to Miss Jane? I said I just gave a trick about repeating and then introducing without saying their name, and your friend having to jump in and kind of like ask for the name type of thing. But I also said one thing that we used to do, and I learned this in actually theater class, to remember names, you associate something with the first letter of their name. Like if my name is Beatrice, I would say a beautiful Beatrice. You know what I'm saying? So I'm associating the letter B with Beatrice. Okay, that's a trick. All right, so this is a confession. This is not asking advice, but I will give my advice because, you know, it is what it is. So I think that I think that if the person is making if a person tries, right? If a person is asking you, you shouldn't feel bad, you know, because at least they're taking the time to learn your name and to get it right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it shouldn't be like, how do you know who I am? You know, like, it's like, I will prefer somebody ask me than for them to walk away still not knowing. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be taken personal that, oh, this person didn't even know my name. No, but they didn't know my name, but they came up, stepped up and asked me because they wanted to make sure that they knew my name, you know? And for me, like, I'm honest with it. Like, I've gotten better over the years, but there was a time that I would straight up tell people, like, I would be in shows with companies and then try, Miss View, Miss Jane, try having to learn somebody's name, and then being in a show where the person is playing a character with a whole name, with a whole different name. So now you got 2 things I got to remember. So in theater, very often we remember the character's name. We usually remember the character's name, and like, it's harder to remember the actor's name. But then you have your playbill. When you're on the train, you could be looking at the playbill. Now you're looking at their photo, their headshot, and their playbill, and their name, and then, the character they're playing. And eventually, the more you work with the person, you get to know them and stuff like that. You're sharing a dressing room or whatever. You're commuting together, whatever. But for the most part, like, try, now you got to learn the name and learn a character name. Like, you have me all messed up. And so I will be like, I'm horrible with names. Tell me your name one more time. Even to this day, I still do it. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to learn it. And I will say it and I will learn it. And then if it's like a foreign name or like, oh my God, but eventually it starts sticking. Eventually it sticks. The most important thing she should have done from the beginning was ask. She should have asked, from the beginning. Hopefully she's learned the lesson and she'll know in the future. Just get it out the way and ask. Ask. Because if you have not referred to them by their name, and now that you know their name, 5 months, 6 months later, now you start referring to them by their name, it's going to throw the energy off. It's going to feel almost like maybe you're trying to reprimand him or whatever. Like, how when you know somebody and you're speaking with them and, if you say their real name or their name, it's like, wait, what? Like, it just changes the mood. I don't know. Anyway, let's go on to the next confession. We are doing 3 confessions tonight. Okay, confession number 2. I still can't forgive my friend for abandoning me at my worst. Ooh. In the words of Little Uzi Vert at the beginning of my show, I brought some tissues in case it gets emotional. All right, this person says, I still haven't forgiven my friend for abandoning me during the worst times of my life. My father had a mild stroke, and for 25 days, he didn't talk to me at all. No check-ins, no support, nothing. I was emotionally exhausted, scared, and trying to stay strong for my family while silently falling apart myself. What hurts the most is that he knew what was happening. Maybe to him it was just silence, but to me it felt like abandonment. I keep replaying it in my head, wondering how someone who cared about me could disappear when I needed support the most. And the part that really stays with me, he never even apologized. Not a real I'm sorry, not an acknowledgement of how badly it hurt me. It's like those 25 days meant nothing to him while they changed the way I see him completely. People say to move on, but I think some pain stays because of when it happened. I don't know if I'm more hurt by the silence or by the fact that he acted like it was normal afterwards. Miss Viewers of You says, been there and had that happen, shaking my head. Somebody in their comments say, I'm going to read a couple of their feedback and then I'm going to give my feedback on this. Somebody says, that's not a friend. That's an acquaintance you outgrew. Somebody says, the no apology part is what will get me too. Silence can be forgiven. Pretending it never happened is a different thing entirely. And then somebody else says, you're not wrong for still feeling hurt. They say that, in Spanish culture, they say that you know who your true friends are when you are faced with jail. I don't know. I feel like I needed to punctuate jail. When you're in jail, when there's a funeral, and there was a third one, but I can't seem to remember it right now. But to me, I would think those are some. Oh, and when you're in the hospital. Yeah. those are in Spanish culture the moments in your life where you know who your true friends are. And all very often then you realize that, when your mom and dad used to tell you, when you used to go against your parents because you thought your friends, your best friends, your friends at school, they were going to be riding for you forever and they know me better than my parents. And no, then you realize that the person that you're calling from jail, that's right, Yale, it's your parents. Okay, the person who is going to go wash you up and do everything they need to do in the hospital is your parents. Okay, and it's family members at the funerals and shit. So, this person is not wrong for feeling this way. I think this person should feel empowered because, and follow me with this, empowered because now you know. Now you absolutely know the true fabric and content of this person. Great. You had great times. Besties. Oh, up and down. And I've been there in situations where I had people that we did so much. It's a certain type of bond that you put together, you create with people when you have opened up the trade as in theater, Naris 21. Don't get excited. And you pick an audition, you are number 100 and something out of 500 in the holding room right there in Manhattan, and you're sitting with somebody across from you, and maybe she's a girl or boy, and you connect with them, and y'all go in your separate auditions. You come to your call, but you never see them again. You come to your callbacks, and then the cast is put together, and it's the first day of rehearsal. We call it the first day of school, and then that person is there, and now you're on tour with this person for a whole year. You've done, hundreds of shows together, and so it's a new bond that you created. This is your bestie. You know what I'm saying? This is your bestie. You created a relationship. You met them at the audition. You traveled all over the place. You've been on tour with them. You made money with them. You gotten them applauses together. You gave them shine on stage. They backed you up on stage. You did all of that. But then when life starts lifing and shit gets real, they're not there for you. Or I do you a better. You've been there. Okay, the show is over, but you've been there. You've been there when their mom had surgery. Went over there, brought her some flowers at the hospital. You've been there. You spotted them when they needed something. You supported them. You helped them get other auditions. But then something tragic, traumatic, or something happens in your life, and they're nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be found. You understand what I'm saying? This person should feel empowered that now they know and now they see before they even get more involved with this person, and they have to cut them off later on where it's even more involved and it will hurt more. There's a lot of selfish people out there, a lot of people that attach to people just for the purposes of what they can get from them at the moment. They don't really see a long-lasting friendship. They don't. And it's selfish. It's selfish for a moment where they have a parent in a situation and they know that, and it's completely radio silence. That silence spoke volumes. And that silence should empower this person to completely block him. And I don't even think, Ms. View, a conversation needs to be had. I don't think so. I think all parties just need to move on. One certainly have already. The other one needs to just chalk it up to experience. Chalk it up to experience. Let me see what Miss View is saying. Miss View says, that jailbird over there always spelled it Yale. She didn't know it was misspelled. Plus, she can't. She called the police on herself to get herself in jail. Bestie. And not knowing that a phone call would have been the best thing. Absolutely. Sometimes, Ms. View, I've been on, all you got to do is just listen. All you got to do is listen. Listen, and in today's day and age, an email, a text, everybody's busy. Everybody got shit to do. But a text, you could be sitting on the toilet typing a text. It's no excuse. It is absolutely no excuse. You could be on commute. You could be right before you go to bed, right after you wake up. You could be in anything. There's absolutely no reason for just sending a smoke signal. Even if you don't, because I've known situations where people just trauma dump. They're just dumping all their shit on you and dumping, and then and sometimes people are able to do that and listen and just absorb and then wash it off. But sometimes people don't want to hear. But just what I'm saying, like just listen. But then if the tables are turned and you need to trauma dump or drama and they're not there for you, that right there speaks volumes. All right, Miss View says, this is really hitting. I had to dismiss several folks around me for that very reason. That is why folks are around you for a season. Then you move them on. Right, just listen to know that you understand. It's called support. Right, not even asking for money. Sometimes sending money helps too. Exactly, and you don't have to be a fucking therapist. You don't have to have the answers. Like you said, lending an ear, just to hear somebody be able to vent to somebody. Just to hear somebody just vent. People have come to me throughout my life with shit. I'm like, I have no fucking clue. I have no clue. I can suggest, why don't you do a Google search? Like I don't claim to know everything, but I do pride myself in being able to listen, actively listening. I think that's part of my theater training, especially because I did a lot of improv. And so in improv, it's all about listening so you could grab and catch where you're gonna bounce off from. Just listening and actively listening. It's not while you're on your other device doing something else. Like, no, like actively listening and just asking, well, how do you feel about that? The feeling is not going to be wrong. The feeling is the feeling. They tell you all of this, and how does that make you feel? What do you think about that? Like, that's not a right or wrong. That's a, how do you feel? That's your feeling, Ms. Jane says, it gets overwhelming sometimes to always be the listener. It needs to be reciprocal. Absolutely. And that speaks to another point, Miss Jane, because there's also people that just want to, just dump. Okay, now we are up to our third one. This one is gonna. I saw the title to this one. Let's just get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. And this is our last one for today. We did 3 confessions on this eve of what's tomorrow. It's a Memorial Day or Veterans Day. I always get them confused. I think tomorrow's Memorial Day, right? Tomorrow's Memorial Day. I think they're having a parade around here. They down in the City Hall area. They're gonna close the streets, and I'm gonna Hulk and I are gonna come so that we can acknowledge and thank our folks that we have a lot of black military around here. So I want to be able to observe and give them their thanks for their service and the whole nine. Before I move on to the next one, let's see. Ms. View says, I am sick of folks draining me to listen and them all of the time. So this was a good one. Okay, cool. Let's move on to the next one. Ooh, this one's a little morbid, but let's see. I sleep inside my parents' mausoleum when life gets too hard. Ooh, child. I do have my thoughts on that. I know my 2 ladies that are here know what a mausoleum is, but just for anybody else who comes later on who does not know what a mausoleum is, that is an alternative to burying people underground. It's like a little structure, not ceramic, concrete structure, where you can put family members in there and stuff like that, right? Hello, my parents died when I was a baby. My mother died in childbirth. Oh my God. She had complications and the doctors couldn't save her. The birth was traumatic and it left me disabled. I use a cane to walk when the pain in my hip legs is high. My father couldn't handle my mother's death. He became really depressed. He unalived himself. This person used the other words, but I got a YouTube. He unalived himself when I was 3 months old. My maternal grandmother and grandfather raised me. However, my grandmother has constantly blamed me for my mother's death. Oh my God! Yeah, oh, see, a old bitch can get it too. Grab that old. Let me go back to the however, part. I'm sorry. I'm going to save my commentary into the end. However, my grandmother has constantly blamed me for my mother's death. She also hated my father, and since I look like him, she hates me too. Oh my God. Side note, I thought grandparents and grandchildren, I thought grandchildren were the highlight of grandparents. I thought. Anyway, my parents are buried in my grandparents' land. My grandfather, before he died, had a mausoleum built for my parents. It's beautiful. When I get depressed, which is honestly most days, not gonna lie, I take my pillow, blanket, and sleep inside the mausoleum. I touch my parents' death masks and their framed pictures for when I pray. It feels like they're really with me and I can actually touch them. I sometimes talk to them about my life, feelings too. My life dash feelings too. I feel more love from their graves than my own house. It sucks. I wish my parents were alive. He also makes an edit after he read some of the answers, and he says, in my culture, I'm Asian. Mausoleums, family tombs are commonly used. It's cultural and it helps shield the food items that are offered to the dead in prayers and incense from weathering or animals. Pictures of the dead are more common, but my grandfather personally chose to include the death masks. I don't know what the death masks are, but okay. Somebody says you feel more love from their graves than your own home. That says everything about your grandmother and nothing about you. Somebody else says, hold on. Oh, they're having a whole conversation with him. Come on. I want to get to know her. Somebody says, heartbreaking. The pain of not having the love of a parent is beyond explicable. Last one before I give my commentary. Somebody says, can't imagine how you feel. Hope you will find your own home soon. You seem young. Good things are ahead. All right, let's see. Ms. Jane says, I don't know if that's any creepier than having some family urns around. Let me tell you, Ms. Jane, oh my God, I dated somebody who had a roommate's urn in the living room. Drop a bomb on that. So yes, the former roommate's ashes were in a urn in the living room, sitting right there next to the TV. And I lived in that apartment at some point. Yes. And so when my ex would go to work, I would be in there with the ashes of the stranger. And before anybody says, were you sure that was a roommate and not an ex? No, it was a roommate. The roommate died and he had absolutely no family members whatsoever. And so the hospital, gave him the body, and then they cremated it, and there was nothing to do with the ashes. So it was in there. It was there. Let's see. Miss Jane says, sounds like a soap opera, frankly. Miss View says, sure it does. Miss Jane says, I'm a big of a cynic. Oh, so am I. However, it's so sad that the grandparents, listen, I just watched Mama Pro is in town, Sister Pro is in town, and Mama Pro is up and down everywhere with niece Pro, my little niece. She's 3 years old. Okay. And my mother has forgotten all of her other children, and she's up and down with this child as if it was hers. Okay. She already took all the pictures down and put a bunch of pictures of the child up there in the house and in the screensaver and the whole night. So it's so foreign to me to see grandparents who do not care for their grandkids. It's so foreign to me because every grandparent in my family has always had a close-knit relationship with their grandkids, even more than their parents. You know what I'm saying? Now, mausoleums are also common in DR. I have a couple of family members that have quite a few. I don't find it creepy, or I don't find it weird that he's choosing to go sleep in there and spend time with them. If that's what spiritually he needs to do to get his mental together and to feel that connection, then listen, more power to you. More power to you. But I'm more intrigued about this grandmother shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Them grandmother, that grandmother, and so it'll be her in her deathbed, wishing, wanting, and hoping that somebody will come wipe her, and then when it's time to when she realized I'm gonna need somebody to wipe, now is my time to ask for the forgiveness on the deathbed. Now I want to make amends with everybody who I treated, all the kids that I treated, the grandkids and the whole night. And then it's such an awkward position to be put in, because part of, you don't want to be the mean grandchild that didn't forgive. You don't want to, they say forgiveness is for, it's not for the person, it's for you to, you can move on. But it's like, you know what I'm saying? Miss View says, in regards to Mama Pro, she gets a second chance. I think it's cute. I miss my grandparents so much. I learned so much from her and my granddad. Yes, my grandmother pretty much raised me until a certain point until she got sick. So I would call her. I used to see and hear my mom call my grandmother Mom. So then I started calling my grandmother Mom, because that's how I grew up. I thought her name was Mom. To be quite not quite correct, but to be quite specific, it was actually Mommy. I will hear my mother call her Mommy, so I will call her Mommy too. And so I had two mommies, and it was like, which mommy are you talking about? Yes. It's funny enough, I asked my niece today. I said to my niece, she's 3 years old and she's very smart. They have her like in a special program and shit, right? I asked her, I said, what's your mother's name? And she said, Mom. I was hoping she was going to give me my sister's name, but she also don't know my sister's name. She knows her just my mom. Anyway, to this young person, hang in there. It gets better. At some point, that old bitch is going to join them in the mausoleum. Okay. And then you're going to feel less and less and less and less about how she's treating you, until a point it's going to come where she's just going to be a fragment of your imagination. You're not going to even remember the dark times that she's put you through. So hang in there. Keep your connection with your family, with your parents. Keep that connection. Even when the physical, even when that mausoleum is no longer there, you're not able to continue to attend or sleep in there, you have to move out and you don't have access to it, know that they're still with you. They're still with you, you know, in spirit, they're still with you. And that's what really matters. Oh, we had a good show today. We had 3 confessions, all very different, all ranges of emotions. I want to thank the ladies that came through, Miss Viewers of You, Miss Jane. I want to thank Naris21 for being here, my husband, the Incredible Hulk, and everybody else who comes through later on. Please hit that like button. It helps us out as content creators. I do this every single night. Every single night I do this. I've been going live consistently since December 1st, 2025. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I've never called out of a scheduled performance. I will see you guys tomorrow with something else. I don't know what it's going to be. But hit that notification and that bell. Make sure you hit the bell because YouTube is on some F-ish. Okay? YouTube is on some F-ish. Incredible Hulk, Miss Views of You, sending you a hug. You have to tell it to hit that notification that you want to see all the videos, because if not, the AI is going to choose what you want to see. And, you know, Wonky Pro may or may not be on the menu. So, thanks for the show. Thank you for being here, Miss View. Everybody get some rest, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. No understudies here ever, okay? I was an understudy. And I know exactly what they think, how they act, and how they run okay? I was an understudy. The first time maybe I'll do a story time about that. The first time I did, because I was in a touring company for 10 years. After I branched out of that tour, that I was there for 10 years and I had to go out there and do my own thing, you know, I booked it and I was an understudy. An understudy. How dare they give me an understudy? And I know exactly what I was thinking, hoping, wishing, and wanting so I can go up. I did go up. I went up for 4 out of the 5 roles that I covered. But anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow. Miss J says he needs 2 sets of arms to hug her. She needs, let me. All right. Have a good night, ladies. See you tomorrow. Peace.